Greetings, friends and future friends. Today's video is on the Korg Nautilus. Today I want to show you the 9 synth engines that are in the Korg Nautilus. They're similar to the same engines that are in its bigger brother, the Kronos. So I want to show you how you can use these synth engines to get that sound you're looking for. So let's go in the studio and see how those things work. Okay, we have the Korg Nautilus all started up here. And we're going to go to Programs, or on my keyboard, Quick Access B button. And what I've done is I brought up a blank program. So there's no information on this program at all. And you can see there's nothing going on. So to start off with, you go over here and tap on this. And you're going to see 8 opportunities here, or 8 options to create a sound engine. There's a 9th one in there, and I'll show you later on where that's at. And you can click on these sound engines to get started. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you right off the bat is, let's go back out of this, turn this off again. The first thing I want to tell you is that if you're going to do this, it's kind of hard work because you're going to start out with a sound that's blank. There's nothing to it. What I would do if you're really looking for a sound would be to go up here and then go to categories, and you have all these options: piano, brass, strings. You can go over here to motion synths, solar winds. Molecular surgery. And when you go OK, it brings up that synth engine that created that sound, and then you could modify it. I think that's actually an easier way to do it, because when we go through these sound engines, you're going to see there's a lot of menus. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time in each menu, but I'm going to try and show you every menu. That way, you'll know if you're looking for something, hey, I think it's in this menu here or that menu there. But the takeaway from this is, before you go trying to create a sound from scratch, see if you can go and find a sound that's closest to the sound you're looking for, and then modify that sound. It'll be a lot easier that way. We're now here at the main screen again. You can see I have nothing there. So let's go to the first sound engine, and we'll go to this called Analog Synthesizer. Now, right off the bat, I'm not going to go over, you're going to see overview, mix balance, performance meter, quick layer, quick split, ARP and drum, sampling, and tone adjust. I'm not going to go over all those. We went over those in program mode and combination mode. If you really want to know what's going on down here, go back and watch those videos, and I'll go more in depth than that. Today, I just want to talk about the sound engines. All right, I have the first engine, sound engine running, AL1, analog synth. And if we tap on it right here, we can see the basic synth, saw, pulse, all the adjustments you can make to that. The OSC sub, the mixer where you can bring these 2 oscillators in, pitch control, pitch EG mod, and all these different things you can do to that. And if we exit out of that and we go over here, now we're talking about the basics in the actual how we want to create our LPF, low pass filter, and the filter modulation, filter LFO modulation, all these things. And if we tap over on this side, it brings us up to the amp and the amp driver, the amp modulation, and the amp EG. You can see the slope on that, and then we can change that if we want. All these are in that. And then if we go over here, that's basically the amp again. We tapped on the wrong one. These are all slopes of the EG1 filter, the EG1 pitch, EG3 and EG4. These are all different things you can change inside that synth. And of course, we go over here, would be the 3-band parametric EQ, a low gain, a high gain, and then a kind of a parametric mid-range. And of course you have your mix. And that's basically a simple synth sound. We now have the CX3, which is a tone wheel organ. And it has the typical organ sounds. And if we back out of that again and we tap the drawbars, and also we have a rotary speaker. Now, here's the basic setup for the rotary speaker. And right here is for some of the controlling of that speaker. Again, the basic setup. The only thing I found that was a little difficult to find is to really adjust this rotary speaker. Tap on pan and level, and it brings you into this screen, which gives you a little bit better understanding of what's going on. And if you tap on rotary speaker, now you have all the adjustments of rotary speaker. And if you can see right here, you see speed, switch, slow, AMS, JS plus Y. So if you watch up here, right there, I pushed the joystick forward, it just went to rotary speaker fast. I push it again, rotary speaker slow. So we have and how you make that adjustment is right here. You can see that's programmed in, JS plus Y. So it's really a little strange, but let's go back at this. You want to make the primary adjustments are made here to the rotary speaker, but to really totally control it, tap on this right here, go to rotary speaker, and then a lot of the adjustments for that rotary speaker are made right here. And again, that's your organ sound. And you also have a 3-band EQ, a low gain, high gain, and a parametric EQ on that. And that's the organ sound. We are now in STR1, which is plucked string. Now, this is a perfect example of where the sound that you're going to create from scratch really doesn't have a really good guitar sound, but when you go into the presets, you'll see that they've already worked a lot of this stuff out. Again, this is just the raw sound that you're going to be working with. And basically go to this and the plucked noise. We have an acoustic guitar. And if we make that into a dark guitar, and then in here you have your PCM oscillator, pitch, all the different things you can do with that. Excitation mixer, all these different things you're going to be mixing in with that sound. String main, a lot of stuff. Dampering. There's so much adjustments to be made in here. String pitch, different things you can do with that. Pickups and feedback. You can actually create a different pickup position and different pickup feedback. Again, I say if you have a guitar sound that you really like in the presets, you can come back into this area right here and make a lot of adjustments. So what that is, if we escape out of this, we tap on this and go to pickups and feedback right here. And here are some adjustments that'll really, change your sound. And of course, the mixer. If you got a guitar, you're going to pick up 1, pick up 2. You can mix up mix the sounds differently. A lot of this pick noise and all the way down is a lot of technical stuff that you really won't change. But again, pickups and feedback, there's a lot of things in here that'll change that sound, and then mixing those sounds. So, exit out of this. And then basically this is different basic filter modulation, filter LFO, and we went to that screen already. And back here, this is basically the amp and amp modulation, amp EGs right there. And then again, you have different waveforms for your EG1 filters and all that. Again, with this synth engine, plucked noise, you don't really do much with that. And then again, this, of course, we got it running flat, but this is very important when creating a guitar sound, you know, your 3-band EQ. And that's the STR1. Now we have the MS-20, and what that is basically the MS-20EX. And this brings back memories. I remember when this synthesizer first came out. So the first screen, you're going to have this set of dials. And if we touch any of these buttons, the first thing I want you to notice is this little square will change as we touch the different buttons. And what that's doing is telling you that the parameters in this button, which we can actually change it by sliding it up and going down and all that, they change with the slide, but they'll also show up over here. So if we want to adjust this button, you can see all the parameters of this button right here are now in this square. That's really great. And if we touch this screen, here's another set of buttons that you can, knobs that you can turn. And each, again, when you tap on this knob, its parameters will show up here and all that. But what's really cool is this right here. Now, this brings back real memories, and I can't remember how we patched it in to get that great sound, but if we just do something like this and go up to here, boom. And let's bring some pink noise into over here. Now, what's really cool is you can patch. Now, what's really cool, if we go here, and you're going to see that now it says VCA in. You can disconnect it by tapping it there. And if we go over here and tap that, we can disconnect that. Now, some of these, you'll see the out going to the out, and we go to, say, another out. It's not gonna patch because you're going from an out to an out. So it won't just patch to everything. But what's really cool is it will patch to certain things. And one of the big things is that noise generator. So if we bring it up into here, now we're going to get all noise. Or maybe we want white noise. So now we tap on that. It shows, okay, you're right here, VCA, and disconnect that. Go over to here, and then go over to the white noise. And again, disconnect. And again, the knobs on the bottom will show you what you're doing, all the signal levels and all that. But basically, you can just patch out wherever it has an out going to an in. So we go from that in to here. Has changed the sound a little bit. We go back out to that. Really cool. So this is the MS-20EX. And we base out, you have a panel of knobs, another panel of knobs, a patch bay that you can patch in your own patches, and then again you have certain EG 3, 4, 5, and 6 patterns already programmed in, and again you have a 3-band EQ, low gain, high gain, and a mid-range parametric. And that's the MS-20EX. Now we have the PolysixEX. And basically it's a Poly6, Korg Poly6. And again, you can change all kinds of things. And again, it's same like the other synthesizers. I want to get the sustain. I hit the sustain button, tap on it right here, tap on that knob, and all the parameters will show up here. If I want to cut off up here, you can see I'm changing the cutoff, which you can change it by sliding the knob, or you can come over here and if you want to make a precise adjustment. And again, everything you touch on this screen goes to this little square right here. Exit out, and then you have another setup of knobs for the Poly6 and all kinds of different things right here. And again, same thing. It's changing the VCF cutoff to all that, exit.
And same thing, you got this EG2 and EG3 parameters you can change, exit. And it also has a 3-band EQ. Now, this is one of those synthesizers that can get some really great sounds. I've actually gone into some of the presets of the PolysixEX, and with doing that, you can actually come in here and say, okay, I got this great sound, then come over here and fine tune it, is the way I like to work. I'm not a very I don't have a lot of time with the PolysixEX, but I know what sound I'm looking for. I can find it in the preset and then bring it up here and make the adjustments I want to make. And that's the PolysixEX. We're now looking at the Mod 7, which is a wave shaping VPM synthesizer. Now this, it goes a little bit over my head because this is a modular based synth, and basically, and it works off a patch system. So we bring some noise in here. We can work that, and then it works the same way as the MS-20. You can bring a patch in, you can jump it, or you can disconnect it. And it's basically patch oriented. And if we exit out of it, you can actually go into here and actually go to the basics, filter modulation, low frequency oscillator modulate. All these different things can be adjusted. But again, that's when you come back to how you patch this in, what things are going to be working, because everything is labeled in, a different setup. There's no really cutoff frequencies or everything in these modules. So you can actually do different things with these modules. And if we go over to here, same thing, basic frequency, low frequency oscillator. And if we go over to here, levels, the mixers for all the different things that's going on in that synth, the outputs of the different drives of each one of those boxes, the amp modulation, the amp EG. And then down here goes into a step sequencer. And I might cover this later on in another tutorial because this gets pretty complex. And again, this is why I usually go to a preset to get that sound I really like and then modify it from there. And we'll get into this maybe a little later down the road. And basically you have all the EG1 through 9 presets. And same with the LFO 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And then the mixers, you can change. So basically all these low frequency oscillators, and then the mixers, AMS mixer 1, the 3 and 4, the 5 and 6 and 7, 8, different things going on, how you can change these blocks to do different things. Again, and then of course you have a 3-band parametric EQ. And again, a synth like this where you're talking about block modulations and cutoffs and filters, you really got to understand how to program this before you start messing with it. And again, I say, you have a preset that you really like, start with that. Be a lot easier, at least for me. I'm more a keyboard player, not really much. I haven't really spent a lot of time in synths, just playing synths. So that's the MOD 7. We're now looking at the SGX2. And basically what that is premium piano. And basically it's going to just bring you up the piano screen, and you got the volume, pan, perspective, octave, transpose, all these different things that you can do. Lid height, if you want to raise the lid or you want to drop it, you can, it's going to be more muted with the lid down than it is with the lid up. So these are all the different sounds that you can play with that piano sound. And then, that's basically what you do when you touch that screen. And if we go over here, this is a little bit more in depth about talking about the string, kind of like a mic placement. And again, back here on the back side, we've got a 3-band parametric EQ. Basically, all the stuff right here is what you're going to have in a piano sound, because you're going to be able to add effects later on. you know, as you go into watch the video, program mode and combination mode, you'll see that when you're in this mode, you can go and add effects. But this is basically just creating that piano sound. Really cool stuff. We're now looking at EP1, and EP1 is MDS electric piano. And if we tap on this first screen, you can see all the different electric pianos. So this one, and the next one, next one, next one, next one, and this one, and the Reed EP200A. Let's go back to the Reed 200. Really sounds good. And these are selections you can make in the electric piano. And then we can go over here, and these are the oscillators. So you can make some fine adjustments to that. Then we go exit. Then we can go over and tap on this screen, which is really cool. And what this is going to do is give you the back plate of that keyboard, of that electric piano. So we can insert effect. And now we brought up, so again, we tap down here on insert effect, and we can bring up all these different effects. So we can go back to off, you know, and exit out of that. Or we can go over here and tap on, let's tap on the chorus. You can hear that, hear the chorus? And let's bring up the width. And let's actually mix that 50-50. And that's really cool. So again, if we go into insert effect, we can insert a wah pedal if we had it connected to the keyboard. We can do a compressor. And what you have down here is the sensitivity, the attack, level, and wet and dry. Now, what you have here is totally wet because in a compressor, we want the whole signal to be compressed. We don't want a mixture of the dry signal and the wet. But when you're talking about a chorus pedal, like the little small stone, or small phase as they call it, you can see there's really not much of a change. But when we bring in the dry signal, really cool stuff. And that's how you add an effect. I like the black chorus. That sounds the best. And if we exit out of that, matter of fact, we'll turn this effect off and get out of that. And that's basically it for electric piano. You have the first screen of the different selections. You can change the oscillator. And then you go in here and then you can add an effect. And again, the preamp volume. So in other words, when you do add an effect like this, you can actually, you can see the preamp volume and the intensity and all that can be adjusted by the back panels because you're actually adjusting these right here. You're adjusting the panel parameter details. All these different controls right here are right there again. And then that's the cabinet drive, how much you're going to drive to the cabinet. And that's actually the panel parameter details, cabinet on and off. If you want to turn it on and off. So we turned it on and turned it off. So these are all the different parameters you can change in the back of that keyboard. Again, When you touch this knob, it shows up right here. This knob is right here. This knob is right here. This switch is right there. And right there you have that knob. And we exit out of that and then finish that off. You have a parametric 3-band EQ as we had on all the other engines. And that's EP1. Now, as we go back to these engines I've showed you before, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Where is the 9th engine? Well, I want to show you something right now. These are all the synth engines on board, but if we go over to here, go back up to programs, and we go to category, and we go to special effects, and we slide over a little bit until we see, where's our catalog? There we go, right there. Catalog 1. Hit OK. Now you're going to see this change to OSC1, which is oscillator 1. This is the oscillator in the keyboard, the Nautilus playing this. It's not really a separate engine like the other 8 engines are. And you can see that when I tap on it right up here, it's not doing anything. Basically, this is the oscillator for playing sounds, because if we go into this and we play sounds, so basically what this is Special Effects Catalog 1. And we exit back out of that. And what it's doing is playing files that have been pre-recorded. All these different special effects. And as you can see, you have 5 catalogs right here of different sound effects. Real handy thing to have in the keyboard. You don't have to go out and look for sound effects. You actually have them in the keyboard. But let's go back to this. So basically, it's telling you right now, because that oscillator 1 is playing that catalog. Now, octave, transpose, and tune, all this stuff this does not pertain to the sound. So when we go to, say, octave, if I'm playing this D6, and I play the D5, now, if I take this octave up here and I drop it down 1 octave, what I've just done, now I'm playing actually the sound that was on D5. Again, let me show you. So here's D6 and here's D5. Now I'm going to play D6, but I'm going to change the octave down. So basically what I've done is I've taken and transposed that D6 to a D5, and I'm playing the sample. And the same with the transpose. So in other words, if this D6 or C6 is now the drink with a little bit of foam to it. Now if I change this down, change this right here, transpose down to, now what I'm going to do is play the D6, and it's actually playing the sample that I originally was playing on C6. So the takeaway from this is that this does not affect the sound itself, but what it will do is affect the sound you're sampling. Again, as I showed you, if I'm playing a sound effect on D6, when I change this down and to an octave lower, I made that D6 a D5, and it's now playing the sample that's not on D6, but on D5. And the same thing with pitch oscillation and all this other stuff, because what it's doing is actually you're playing a sample. So again, this OSC1 is basically an oscillator that's playing waveforms, or however, I think they're actually waveforms or MP3s in here. And again, you can go in here and change things, filter, modulation, and this is only going to change the sound, all these different things. Back out of this and go over here, the amp, modulation, and all that. It's going to change the way the sound is played, but it's not really going to make a big difference to that sound. And if we go over here, we have again a 3-band EQ, low, gain, high gain, and a parametric mid. And that's the 9th sound engine. And it's pretty interesting because if we go back over here and we go to category catalog 2 and go okay, now we have all kinds of different things. Sounds like a lot of animal noises. And that is OS1. All right, I'm going to play you a couple of my favorite sounds, and you'll see a couple of these synth engines working. My first one is the Italian grand piano. Now this is my Jay's jazz organ, and if we go to programs, it's that CX3 sound. And we put the speakers in fast. All right, let's go to my old Vox organ. Now this is a perfect example on the OSC oscillator, because now we've got this really a cool organ sound, and that's a great example of an OS1 oscillator. So let's go back here, and of course let's go to the pipe organ while we're at it. Again, this is a really good example of the OSC1 oscillator, and you get a real heavy church organ sound. Really a cool sound. Go back, and then our string sounds. And if we go to our programs, this is a A1, which is basically the analog synthesizer sound. Really cool. And if we went to strings and brass, this is again that A1 synth. And if we go to Dare 2B Square 01 and go into programs, this is a mod 7. And again, this is where I get this synth. I took it from a preset and modified it a little bit. And if we go back down and we go into from the beginning, this is again another AL synth. Now we have the Polysix lead, and this is basically two PolysixEXs. sound. Back to our thing, if we go to the EDM lead-ins and back to a program, this is an AL synth. And now we have the German accordion, and that's basically an OSC oscillator. Now let's go to warm French horn, and basically that's an oscillator. Now in this program, what I've done is if you look over here, I made that a French horn. And down here, I made that a French horn ensemble. So blending those two together, you created a... Now let's take a look at the nylon dynamic guitar. And basically, it was another preset that I just modified. But if we look at it as a program, and I play a little bit of it here. Really cool. But if you look at this, you're going to see this is a square pluck. And if we exit back out, and you'll see down here, this is an acoustic guitar. So basically we have two different sound engines. The two engines are the same, but they're playing a different configuration of a sound. And it really sounds cool. And again, if we went back in here and went to IFX, you can see that I have on the insert effects, I put a parametric EQ and a zero verb, which really sounds good. So if we exit out of that, you really get that. Now we go to a symphonic choir. There are so many sounds. If we go up into these categories and go into categories, now I search when I'm looking for presets in the bank or the bank list. But basically when I'm looking for a sound, I can go into the piano, all the piano sounds and all the vocal sounds and guitar sounds. There are just so many sounds that the only advice I can give to you guys is to just play with it and create. And one thing you want to do is create a set list, because when you create that set list, just like I did on the Korg PA5X, build a library. Same thing on this Nautilus. So my last piece of advice to you is to play with this keyboard. There's just a vast number of presets and sounds in this thing, and build a set list, and you'll never come across a project that you can't create a sound for, or there isn't a sound in there that you can modify.
So I hope this video showed you how you can use these 9 synth engines to create that sound you're looking for. Each one of those engines has its own individual sound. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. You help us grow the channel. That way we can bring you more cool stuff. So take care, my friends, and thanks for watching.